Okay, just for a quick overview, divine command theory is really quite simple. God's commands are good, God's prohibitions are evil. There's many different strengths or pros to divine command theory. If there is a creator God, who better to tell us the right way to live than this God? Kind of like when you buy a car and the manufacturer puts in an owner's manual. Well, if God manufactured the world or created the world, who better to tell us how to make it work, including human beings, than the one who made it? Secondly, God has the power to enforce his commands. If he makes a rule or a decree, he has the power to back it up. Thirdly, God knows all the angles and all the mitigating circumstances. No one's going to be falsely accused by God. No one's going to be able to say, no, you didn't see what happened, or, Billy poked me when you weren't looking. Well, none of that's going to happen. God is always looking. God knows everything that's going on. Everyone will get their just rewards from God. That's part of the problem, but that's cons. God knows both our actions and our intentions. God not only sees the external events and what we're doing, but God knows the intentions of our heart. Fifthly, God has made clear his rules and expectations, what's required of us. Whether that's in the scriptures or in our own conscience, everyone has this idea of right or wrong within them. Whether you were raised Muslim or Jewish or Christian, or you didn't, if you were raised in an illiterate society, you still have this moral compass inside your heart that guides you how to live. Once again, in the cons, that is also going to be a problem, because whether you were given the written word of God or your own conscience as your guide, no one has lived up to that standard. Sixthly, heaven for those who obey, and seven hell for those who disobey. But who wants the little disobedient people in heaven with them, right? So hell's a good thing. Keeps the riffraff out. Okay, the weaknesses, or the cons. Belief in God is a huge presupposition. This theory only works for people who share in that presupposition, and in your particular version of God. If there is a God, or gods, which one is the right one? How do you know you're serving the right God? If you were raised in Saudi Arabia, would you be worshiping Allah? If you were born ancient Greece, would you be worshiping Zeus? How do you know you happen to have the right God to be worshiping? Thirdly, how do we know the scriptures weren't just made up by men? We know religion is used all over the world to manipulate people and keep people in control. How do you know your particular religion isn't doing that to you? Even if there is a God and you pick the right one, and you can trust the revelation given to you in your holy books, how do you know you're interpreting God's will correctly? This is a huge problem. Who gets to settle disputes when two different people interpret the Bible or the Quran in different ways? Who's the final authority? Fifthly, how can you hope to live up to God's perfect standard? To me, that's probably the biggest problem. Even if it is a true theory, if you can't live up to it, what good is it? Sixthly, what if God asked you to do something that conflicted with your core moral values? For example, what if he asked you to kill your own child? It'd be horrible. What a horrible thing to have to decide. And lastly, how do you know it's God asking you to do things, not your own wandering desire? Can you distinguish the voice of God from your own impulses, from your own ego, from your own lust? So I hope that was helpful, and we'll just round this off with my personal opinion. So what do I really think about divine command theory? Well, it's a perfect standard. which makes it completely unlivable. The consequences for failure are eternal. Leads to legalism. There's no mercy, grace, forgiveness, or love. But besides those little downsides, I mean, it's a perfectly great theory. I don't know, when you contemplate your own mortality and realize you're going to stand before your Maker someday, divine command theory without some qualifiers, like maybe God's mercy, or forgiveness, or compassion, or He's going to save who He's going to save, then I think you might want to look for another ethical theory. I know I am. And those of you who think you can keep the law of God, and you're going to try to make other people keep God's law too, well, just give us all a break. Get over yourselves and your own self-righteous attitudes. In fact, if anything, I think that makes God more angry than anything else. A wise person once told me, the biggest mistake the Jews made, and if you're Jewish, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pick on you, but when Moses came down the mountain with the commandments given by God, and not just the Big Ten, but the 600 plus other ones, I think 613 other commandments, and when Moses presented the laws to the Jews, they should have fallen on their face and said, God have mercy, well, we can never keep these. But you know what they did? They said, we will keep all of it. And not only did they try to keep them, they added to them. And there is something really wrong with people. We love a cage, we love rules, we love the law. And once again, I'm not trying to pick on Jews or Muslims, but for you Christians out there that want to be divine command theorists, I mean, you might as well be a Jew or a Muslim. It's not Christianity. It's not about law or the works. And if that's what you want, and that's what you're holding yourself to or others to, well, please just let it go. I mean, you're just going to hurt yourself and others. If you're a Christian, your only hope is to die, because death frees you from the law. So divine command theory, you're a good one, you're just not livable, so you're not for me. Next up, ethical relativism.